By the end of this video, you will be a borderline expert in all things testosterone optimization. The real world applications to this is getting stronger much faster, getting bigger much faster, being able to actually optimize testosterone in a way that your hair doesn't freaking fall out because of the dihydrotestosterone. And basically, I'm gonna rank all the known methods of increasing testosterone that I've talked about and that I have not talked about on my channel. Kay Shami, I saw him do a tier list on Looks Magazine, and I thought, might as well do something like this. Somebody called me out like, oh, this guy's copying Syrian Psych. I was like, hell yeah, this is fun. Weird ass picture, but this is me benching 3 plates. Yes, I increased my bench 20 pounds per average from 225 to 315 in 5-6 months. So a lot of people say that lifting heavy will increase your testosterone, which is actually wrong. It will actually increase like that, like spike a little bit, an acute spike while you were training, and then it will go to lower than baseline. However, this does not automatically make it D tier because your androgen receptor sensitivity and density, as shown right over here, those muscles, those parts of the cells will make it so that your muscles grow much bigger and you are more sensitive to testosterone and to the other androgen derivatives, so you don't need to have as much and you get a greater effect for what you have. So for those reasons, I'm going to put this in A tier. Lifting is pretty valid. Wow, look at that, looks so nice. Supplementation, weird ass picture. Supplementation can offer you the help to increasing your testosterone without, of course, steroids, because that's friggin' weird. You don't want your testicles to shrink. That's like already F tier. That's off of this page, off of this chalkboard. Supplementation, like with creatine, it was shown in a famous study with rugby players that it increases your testosterone, your dihydrotestosterone without decreasing your testosterone, meaning that it increases your testosterone so that it can convert to dihydrotestosterone. This is where a lot of people might go bald. So if you don't want to have more dihydrotestosterone, then don't supplement with creatine, although it might give you performance enhancements as in your cognition and also your muscle mass, as well as your cell saturation, make you look bigger even if you are not bigger because you have more water. Things like zinc, things like magnesium, a lot of people are deficient in these things, so supplementation can help with them. As well as for sexual health, you can supplement with more amino acids as well as for recovery. Essential amino acids will help you increase your testosterone because you simply have the building blocks for your body. And so for supplementation, I'll tell you, if you want to optimize your testosterone, your hormones all together, supplementation is actually pretty up there. So I'm actually gonna also, you know what, this has to go in S tier, but I'm gonna put it here because this isn't the coolest picture we have. All right, next up, here we have a picture of a woman. Now, this will be very nuanced. So, testosterone increases by about 14 to 16% when talking to a woman for just 5 minutes that you believe is attractive. Talking to women can increase testosterone. However, this is also nuanced because living with women decreases testosterone, which is pretty counterintuitive because you wouldn't think so, but that's what it does. So just continue to make sure to flirt with the girls around you because, you know, you want to have love in your life, and that's wonderful. The other thing is sexual intercourse will increase testosterone incredibly amount. The only problem with that is when people freaking bust, then their testosterone decreases because their oxytocin increases and their serotonin increases, and they go through a refractory period that might last. It can last like a couple minutes, couple seconds, depending on how optimized you are. For some men, when they get older, that refractory period can last, like they feel lethargic for up to 2 days, and or even more, depending on how down bad they are. So to optimize testosterone, it would help to not bust. So that's just a little tidbit. Where did I hear that? All right. So I'd say just for the other aspects of actually being with a woman and actually having them in your life, wonderful. So I'm actually going to put this in B tier. Yeah. Just because it can increase testosterone, can also decrease testosterone, but it just depends how you navigate. As well as women can also, and this is for everybody in your life, but typically if you surround yourself more with women, they can cause you to have more cortisol, more stress. They can bring more stress into your life, also bring good stuff into your life. So that is why that goes B tier, because increased cortisol, which is inverse to testosterone. More cortisol you have, less testosterone you have, but you can also increase your testosterone if you navigate things correctly. Plastic. No, touching plastic will not increase your testosterone, especially people say, oh, I mean, okay, it's an endocrine disruptor, right? So it mimics testosterone, or it binds to the androgen receptor instead of the actual androgens, the male hormones. So this will decrease your testosterone. No, it will not upregulate your testosterone. It will decrease it. So this actually D tier, friggin' nasty. Don't touch this shit, nasty. Body fat percentage. The optimal body fat percentage is 12 to 15% body fat. This is because if you have more fat tissue, you will have more estrogen. This is because fatty tissue, adipose tissue, contains higher levels of aromatase, which is the enzyme that converts testosterone into estradiol. Higher levels of estradiol will cause your testosterone negative feedback to signal your testosterone to actually go lower. So if you want to optimize your testosterone, I'd say go to 15% body fat. And body fat percentage, if it can make your testosterone baseline go higher by having it at a lower body fat percentage, man, that's S tier. That is S tier. And you know what? We will put that there. Christian Bale, sexy guy. Of course, we're going to put that first. Cholesterol. Cholesterol is a building block of testosterone and also other androgen derivatives, as well as cortisol, all the steroid hormones. You need it for testosterone, but it won't increase your natural baseline. You're not going to have a testosterone increase just by eating it. You're going to have the testosterone increase by doing everything else correct and then having the building blocks for actually building it. For those reasons, I would say having a good, oh yeah, by the way, saturated fats are healthy. Truth is, the reason why people get confused on this is because polyunsaturated fats, seed oils, and also they tell you it's better for you, but no, it's inflammatory because what they do on a very basic level is that they denature the actually good cholesterol you have in your body and also the good cholesterol that you eat. This is because they are inflammatory, because they increase the amount of free radicals within your body. Think if chlorine is negative and it binds to a positive molecule like sodium. Imagine if you have more free negatives or free positives within your body, it will cause reactivity much more often to occur. These free radicals cause inflammation, which will decrease testosterone because you don't want to be inflamed within your daily life, because that actually is bad for every part of your body. Aside from like if you're training and you have inflammation because you train, that's actually good for you. That's why we'll get to cold exposure influences that. Healthy, these ones. Just stay away from polyunsaturated compounds, seed oils, or else it will denature the good cholesterol you have in your body. And it's pretty bad. So I would say this goes B tier, or even actually C tier. Let's go C tier, just because it's just a building block. It doesn't actually make it so that you can increase your testosterone. It's only a limiting factor. So if you have good levels of testosterone, then that means you're having good amounts of cholesterol. Soy, to contrary belief, is actually not necessarily bad for testosterone. However, that is in the short term. What soy actually will do, because of the phytoestrogens, it will actually cause your androgen receptor sensitivity and density to be less. The testosterone won't actually bind to the androgen receptor as well as the phytoestrogens can bind to the estrogen receptors, mimicking estrogen in a very, very slight amount. However, also when you're processing in your gut microbiome, things like phytoestrogens can turn into a more powerful version than estradiol. It can turn into a compound called equal, and that is like an estrogen-like mimicking like substance that is released into your body that is in 50% of people, and their gut basically becomes an estrogen factory. So I really don't recommend having these because long-term it can decrease your testosterone. And another study that a lot of people never talk about is that in the short term, it might increase your testosterone, which is crazy because people are like, soy boy. No. What happens is your Leydig cells that produce testosterone, they basically are said, produce more testosterone because the androgen receptors are not getting the testosterone well. They're not sensitive to the testosterone, so you need to upregulate your testosterone to cope. But the problem with that is your body should not, because it's not because of competition or natural things of increasing testosterone, your body is going to be like, shit, I'm getting burned out. I can't keep this up. And so then in the future, low androgen receptor sensitivity, low testosterone, because your Leydig cells aren't as healthy anymore. So yeah, D tier, nasty. Won't increase testosterone in the long term. Disgusting. Cats. Why are cats here? Well, cats, some people say they lower cortisol by 10 to 15%, which is true, which technically would make it so testosterone would go up. So if you have a healthy cat, emphasis on healthy, it should actually be anabolic and increase testosterone, and you can get big and strong and nice and calm. The other thing is though, however, if you do not have a super clean cat, and most cats are not super clean, even though like they put their litter in everything, whatever. They eat a bunch of random critters like rats, mice, whatever, birds. They forget, how do you even catch a bird? It flies. Anyways, those carry parasites, toxoplasmosis, and being around a human can cause the human to get the parasite, which also increases affinity for cats and like liking for cats, which I find kind of interesting. Only a select people, such as myself, that have the Rh positive genetic, as in for their blood type, will actually be more resistant to the viruses or toxins or parasites, such as these little guys, the toxoplasmosis. Oh yeah, by the way, toxoplasmosis can make you just a little bit more infertile, as in it decapitates the heads of sperm and distorts the flagellums, as in the tails. And so that's about like 20 to 25% of them, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Definitely more than 20%, and can lead to infertility. And it actually, toxoplasmosis can increase testosterone a little bit. And that is likely because you need to increase sperm production. Also, I mean, like, it helps facilitate sperm production. It's like very, very nuanced. But truthfully, these C tier. A dog would likely be better because they don't typically harbor the toxoplasmosis. Fasting, ass. Unless you want to increase your growth hormone, you do not need to fast in order to increase testosterone. And people sometimes get these confused, growth hormone and testosterone, because growth hormone will increase your muscle mass. So a way you can do this is you can just like not eat for a couple hours and then have your first meal in the PM, and you can get the growth hormone spike. However, putting your body through any stress will increase growth hormone actually, but also will increase your cortisol a little bit. So use this sparingly. I would actually honestly put it C tier because it can be for growth hormone. But actually for testosterone, this is a freaking testosterone list. So I'm being actually very generous. Cold exposure. Cold exposure can be very, very good for mood. It can actually mimic the effects of freaking cocaine, making your dopamine spike like 200%. However, the actual action of taking a cold shower or a cold plunge, anything with ice, actually doesn't actually influence testosterone. It might increase your epinephrine, adrenaline, which might make you feel more pumped up. You might feel like it's testosterone. No. It's just your epinephrine. What it can maybe possibly do is indirectly increase testosterone because there's more blood flow to your genitals. And so because there's more blood flow, more oxygen, more energy, more nutrients, you might increase testosterone like that. It shouldn't actually do much. Definitely not as bad as these ones. Definitely another C tier. And you'll see kind of a trend. There are little things that actually do impact your testosterone quite a bit. But here we have another really good one. Not S tier necessarily, but it can decrease your cortisol, and that's meditation or stress management. Lowering your cortisol will increase your testosterone because there's more cholesterol to go around so that you can actually have the building block for testosterone. B tier. It's pretty valid actually. Pretty valid. Sprinting is another one of those things that's actually better for growth hormone, especially if you don't have cold exposure after to blunt the adaptation. Remember, something that puts your body through stress will secrete growth hormone so that you can adapt and undergo adaptation. And if you're making yourself heal like cold exposure does, by the way, cold exposure can make you less big because it can, as I'm saying, blunt the amount that your body needs to actually adapt. So imagine if I slap you in the face, but it doesn't hurt that much. I mean, you still got slapped. It's still like did a toll on your body, but it didn't hurt that much. Your body wouldn't need to adapt. So cold makes you be able to deal with more pain. So it makes you less adaptable. Anyways, sprinting can increase growth hormone, can give you a slight increase in testosterone while you're doing it. But again, it's similar to the weightlifting, whereas it can actually help your androgen receptor sensitivity and density. However, your actual testosterone will not necessarily be fully upregulated. I mean, you will see, because of your androgen receptor sensitivity and density and also the type of training, see the bodies of sprinters compared to the bodies of long distance runners that don't need the extra surge of testosterone or don't actually secrete the growth hormone as much. Check out their bodies and they end up looking a little bit worse. So because growth hormone, slight increase of testosterone, and also androgen receptor sensitivity, I would put this probably B tier. Competition, dominance, and fighting. Ooh, automatically S tier. And the reason I will explain that is because testosterone exists for competition. That is the only reason your genetics are here. And the reason why a lot of people might not be so competitive, like I used to not be very competitive when I was younger. The reason why is because of programming. Essentially, there was I think his name was Adolf. I don't know, definitely not the other Adolf, but there is this scientist, Adolf Berthold, I think his name was, yeah. He cut off the testicles of roosters, made them capons. They didn't fight, they didn't compete for women. They were easier to domesticate. You're sitting still at school, you do anything, and your teachers yell at you. Competition. This is why testosterone has decreased 50% in the last 50 years, because this isn't as loved as it was before. It wasn't as understood. The other thing is that competition actually can be very healthy. It's not necessarily something bad. It can show you, seeing how good somebody can work, how hard somebody can work, how people can actually achieve things that you never thought was possible. That can cause you to achieve things you never thought were possible. S tier, 100% S tier. Also, fighting sports will increase your testosterone just because of the competition. I cannot stress how much competition is important. And if you would like to have a healthy competition, join my community in the description. Full test maxing, full hormonal optimization, and after 30 days that you're in there, you're going to have a full sexual optimization guide, like stronger erections, refractory period, all that interesting stuff that I can't talk about on YouTube really, or I don't want to talk about on YouTube. Heat exposure. Heat exposure can increase growth hormone. However, your Leydig cells actually only work in a specific temperature 2 to 3 degrees lower than body weight. If you were going to a sauna, it can increase growth hormone and cause your healing to occur, your immune system to be upregulated, because you need to adapt. However, if you have heat on your balls, you will denature your sperm and also decrease your testosterone and your sperm health. For those reasons, this, in the context of testosterone and not growth hormone, this will have to go actually D tier. It's actually pretty bad for you. It can distort your sperm health really good. Sleep. Ooh, my goat. Sleep. Sleep is imperative. Most testosterone is secreted during the night while you are sleeping, and the best way to actually optimize your sleep for that is to go to bed at the very same time every single day. This is more important than actually sleeping 8 hours. The other thing is, try to sleep 8 hours, because that also will help you optimize your testosterone. Everybody's different, but just make sure time in bed is not the same thing as time sleeping. So if you want to actually have a full 8 hours, think about the amount of time it takes you to fall asleep, add that to the 8 hours, and there you go. You have 8 hours. Sleep is imperative. However, some people might have their testosterone decreased while they are sleeping, which is very counterintuitive, and you can watch another video that I'll link in like the iCard. This is because of sleep apnea. If you do not have enough oxygen to your brain, another reason to have your body fat low. If you do not have your body fat percentage low enough, you might have so much fat that's pushing on all of everything, and you won't have the airways big enough to actually get enough oxygen into your body. When I was younger, I had sleep apnea. I had freaking night terrors, and my cortisol was high through the roof. I always felt I was always in a state of fight or flight. I was always nervous. I was always really, really, really bad. I even developed gynecomastia, which is pretty shit, but actually it's not so bad. It's not so bad. that is why I always am all about hormonal optimization actually right now, because I realize just how good and important it is, not only for your competitive drive, not only for the success you have in life, not only for your strength, but for how you feel as a man in this world that can be pretty difficult and can actually hurt you. And sometimes it's so hard to get back up. But if you have the facilities, if you have the hormones on your side to back you up and the mindset, that is actually most imperative of it all. Your body will adapt, actually increase your testosterone, increase your hormones, and you will be able to go through any endeavor knowing that you are the best man, knowing that you are the fiercest opponent in any human endeavor. Anyways, sleep. All sorts of sleep, man. Make sure your airways are good. S tier. Ooh, beautiful. What a sexy guy. Last one. Sun. Overblown, but it actually is very important. Vitamin D upregulates testosterone, important. However, it only is to an extent. If you are frying out in the sun all day, it's only to a threshold. If you don't have the sun, yeah, your testosterone will be shit. If you don't have vitamin D, make sure to supplement with vitamin D plus K2 for better absorption. And yeah, just make sure to have sun, and it only helps to an extent, but you need it as a baseline. I actually put it A tier because, it's actually pretty valid. And we'll talk about the worst thing you can do for your testosterone, actually. The worst thing you can do, and we'll actually do the F tier. I already mentioned this, steroids. Steroids are terrible, and this is why I will always stick to the natural route, unless there's also things like trevogrumab, gretismab. Those things are actually going to be bigger, like make you bigger. They technically are not natural, but they're not for testosterone and hormones. I made a video all about that too. That looks terrible. Testosterone injecting Tren, D-bol, Anavar, all those things will actually make your balls shrink, and they're just not good for your long-term health. They can also increase your blood clots in your legs, and none of that's good. Anything unnatural for your body is not good. Just do all of these other things. Check out my channel and join my community if you really, really want to have some one-to-one help and you want to have access to me. I'll help you out. You should be just a little bit closer to being an expert, and you will become more of an expert of testosterone and hormonal optimization in general, not just testosterone, but growth hormone, thyroxine, all those things, so that you can feel your best and live your best life. That's the video. Subscribe and leave a like, bro. This was good. You learned stuff.